Hey everyone, and welcome to the Entrepreneur Pod Guide, created to share the collective wisdom of everyday entrepreneurs who are bringing their visions to life, the ones in the arena. We've all read the same billionaire books, but what about the wisdom from the entrepreneur next door? The ones building, learning, failing forward, and figuring it out one step at a time. I'm your host, Britt Rodriguez, and every episode we're bringing you honest conversations, fresh insights, and lessons from entrepreneurs just like you. This is your place to learn, grow, and get inspired by your fellow business owners who are actually out there building businesses today, not just dreaming about them. So, let's get started.
Welcome back to the show. Today, Britt sits down with Andy Huckaba, a coach and leader focused on helping people step into their next level with clarity, confidence, and purpose. This conversation is absolutely packed with golden pieces of wisdom that every entrepreneur needs to hear. So settle in, you're really going to love this one. Let's get started.
Andy Huckaba, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, and I'm so happy to be here, Brett.
Yeah. Oh, man, you're such a nice person. I have had the best time talking to you before this podcast started and our
Right.
initial conversation. I've just been so excited to actually sit down and record with you. So thank you. Now, I know quite a bit about you, Andy, but tell everybody else a little bit about yourself and about what you're working on right now.
Oh gosh. Well, a little bit about myself. I do 3 things. I have a management consulting business that I've had since 1993, based on leadership and management primarily, some strategy work, a lot of facilitation. I have an executive coaching business. I'm a PCC coach and with the International Coaching Federation, and I coach executives to help them get stronger and better, and just have that sounding board sometimes that they don't have within their organizations and structures. And then I teach leadership and management with the University of Kansas and their public management center.
And that is 3 hats, very large hats that you wear. And they all complement each other really well. So how do you use those, the coach, the consultant, the educator,
Yeah.
how do you use those 3 and fit them together in your work?
Yeah, it's actually pretty interesting how they work and how they've come about, but they do complement each other. The experiences that I have, especially with consulting and coaching, certainly feed into my teaching
Mm.
in terms of being in front of a class of adults, people who are trying to get stronger and better at what they do, and to bring those real life situations into the classroom is very, very helpful and very tangible for people. The coaching has a way of impacting absolutely everything I do because of the disciplines around coaching, the listening and the making it about other people and the presence and the just curious nature of coaching, that we become very curious about other people and we listen very deeply. We learn to listen very deeply. Well, that's affected my consulting greatly because a lot of my consulting sessions, especially when I'm working with a board or whatever, are using those coaching skills to be able to engage that group of people, to get them to think beyond where they are right now. And then it also impacts my teaching because it allows me to give the work back to the class,
Mm.
um, to ask them the questions as opposed to just standing up for 8 hours and talking at them. And so, the coaching really impacts those. And then I just love the teaching. I
Mm.
love being in front of a group, and I love to see the, light bulbs go on in the group. I like to see people grow and learn and say, "Gee, I wish I would have known that before."
Mm.
Those are great sentiments, and it's great to be part of that as well.
Yeah, so former educator myself, speaking with you, I think it is one of the most trust building things you can do as an educator to be living what you're teaching. So the fact that you are coaching, you are consulting, and then you are teaching that is it's incredible, and so many people don't do that, like, they just teach, and sure, maybe when they started teaching, everything was very in line, like, with what was
Yeah,
happening in the real world, but the more you teach and don't do the actions of whatever you're teaching about, so if you're a business teacher, if you're, a literature teacher, like, you have to be doing the writing. If you're a literature teacher, you must be writing, you must be reading at the same
right,
time, right? If you're teaching business, you must be doing business or else your stuff is gonna become it's not gonna be applicable to people at some point, right? Like, you're
right.
just gonna fall out of it, and so I love that you're doing both. People who are sitting
Thank
in
you.
your class at the university, they're getting a real education because 'cause you're not just going to teach them and doing nothing else. You're teaching them about stuff that could have happened yesterday. Like,
Yes.
in real life, it's very cool.
And most of the people in my classes are work for city, county, and state, and some federal, government.
Nice.
And I have a background, probably something I hadn't shared with you already,
Yeah, I
where
don't think I know this part.
I was an elected official, at a local level for, 17
Nice.
years and, planning commission before that, and so I have a lot of, deep knowledge, deep understanding, sensitivities to, what it looks like to govern. And
Nice.
what does leadership and management look like in that world of governance, and how difficult it can be sometimes, right? The balance between, um, your staff and the governing body and the constituents, the citizens, and what does
Mhm.
it look like to balance all of that? And so I'm able to bring some of that knowledge and some of that, introspection into the classroom as well.
Oh, that's so cool. So it all like it works really, really well for you, this combination of the different types of work you do. And I imagine it keeps things very interesting as well. It
It
doesn't make
does,
you,
yeah,
it makes you sharper in
yeah.
all three. And then it also, yeah, it makes it fun for you. Um, so one of the things I thought was interesting in our first chat together was you talked about what coaching is and what it is not. And I love
Sure.
that because I think so many people want so many things from a coach. It's still kind of like a nebulous term, and we'll get on that part in a little bit too of how it feels like coaching is kind of everywhere, but at the same time, it's still pretty new, which we had talked about too. But um, I'd love to start with just what coaching is because I really do think there are a lot of misconceptions. You've seen it a lot with people coming to you
Right.
asking for help. So can you kind of explain for the people what you explained for me the other day, the differences really and what
Sure.
makes something a coach or what
Yeah.
makes someone a mentor or because they're
Well,
different.
coaching is a partnership,
Mm,
and so you have, a coach and somebody you're coaching or a team that you're coaching in some cases. Um, and in coaching, we are trying to help our clients, see beyond where they can see today.
mm,
I may have mentioned when we talked before that everybody I coach comes into a coaching relationship with blinders on.
mm,
Doesn't matter who they are. They come in with blinders on, and those blinders are dictated by the people they've known in their life and the experiences they've had in their life. Those are the blinders, that sets the parameters. And so for them to see beyond those blinders, outside of that box, they oftentimes need a partner
mm,
to encourage them to look beyond that. And that's where coaching comes in. We come in to help them see possibilities that they can't see on their own. We come in to ask them questions that perhaps nobody's asking them,
mm,
to help them make positive progress toward some objective or goal. Coaching is very future oriented. It's about where someone wants to be and perhaps where they are now and what they need to do to get there.
yeah.
It's almost a gap exercise if you really think about it.
Yeah, 100%.
Coaching is not several things that sometimes it gets confused with. Um, Coaching is not therapy.
Mm,
We're not there to look at someone's past to help them put pieces back together, to help them understand um, why they feel or do the things they do. That's not our job. That requires a professional therapist who's trained to do that. And in that situation, the therapist is the expert in that work.
Right.
Coaching is not consulting. I
Mm.
told you one of my jobs or one of my businesses is management consulting. Organizations ask me to come in and take a look at what's going on and to um, find patterns and to make recommendations on what they should do.
Mm.
In a consulting relationship, the consultant's the expert
Right.
or the so-called expert, right? Um, and in mentoring, you typically have someone who has been in that particular industry longer than you have, uh, who comes beside you, kind of puts their wing around you, and helps you um, navigate the work and what you're trying to do. And mentoring is what is oftentimes mixed up with coaching a lot.
Mhm.
But in the mentoring situation, the mentor is the expert still.
Mm.
And they're doing a lot of instructing, telling. Um, in my day, I did it this way
Right.
kind of mindset. Well, in coaching, we don't do that. In coaching, the expert is the client we're working with. They're the expert in their life, they're the expert in their work.
Mm.
Our job as a coach is to be the expert in the coaching process.
Right.
And so we bring the coaching process and we marry it up with their expertise. And that allows them to begin to work through systematically some of the barriers that are in front of them, some of the goals that they want to have, some of the steps they need to take to make forward progress.
Mm.
And so in that case, the expert is the client, not the coach.
I love it
That's
because
the real difference.
it's such a great way to I think I didn't even realize how much those they overlapped until you made those, like, analogies for me, and I was like, "Okay, yeah," because it truly is. So when you think of a coach, it just helps to truly think of, like, a coach of, like, a basketball team or a coach of a football team. They are not the ones out there with the skills that are like, the experts out there doing their thing,
Mhm.
crushing out there on the field or out on the court. They're not. They're the ones that are helping them get
Yep.
to their goal, winning the game. Like, they're the ones that are helping strategize and partnering with them, but they're not the ones themselves that have you're right, like, they are not trying to be the expert for them or to say, "Hey, yeah, like, back when I was playing basketball in high
Yeah.
school, this is how I did it." Not at all, right? It's like, "Okay, hey, I'm working with you. This is what you need out on the court or out on the field. Like, let's help
Yeah.
you, this is where you wanna go. Let's help you get there." So
Yeah, it's a great metaphor. And at the end of the day, the coach never makes the shot.
right.
It's the player that makes the shot.
100%. And but then we talk sometimes about the importance of coaching. We'll get to this a little bit later too, but think about a basketball team without a coach or a football team without a coach. People need coaches. They just do, especially in certain, I'm going to go ahead actually and jump to one of the questions I have for you because I know you help with CEOs and um, we talked about how CEOs oftentimes they're at such a lonely part, like a
Right.
lonely rung of that ladder, and where vulnerability is not something they can often show to people, but they need someone
Right.
that they can be vulnerable with. And a coach is an awesome like way to help them. So I think that's interesting. Like anyone who's CEO, founder, owner of a company listening, I just so strongly encourage people to have coaches if they don't, because it's so vital and helpful, especially when you're the one at the top of this ladder, right?
Right.
So, what have you seen, Andy, in your work with CEOs? Can you talk on that a little about how really people at the top need someone that they can be vulnerable and open with and, to
Yeah.
get that coaching.
Well, first of all, we create a container that is completely confidential,
Mm.
and that creates safety
Yeah.
for whomever we're coaching to be able to explore, to think out loud, to um, try things, whatever that they may not feel they want anybody else to see.
Right.
And so that
Yeah.
confidential nature of coaching allows for that container to be present.
Mm,
Often CEOs, executives are in positions where they can't show those weaknesses, those vulnerabilities, that doubt
mm,
to their organization. In fact, their organization's looking to them to not show that doubt in a lot of cases.
right.
But the reality is they all have the doubt. They all
Mm,
have the worry, am I doing the right thing?
mm,
Even the more experienced ones still have that. And
yeah.
that's where a coach comes in is we become to a certain extent a sounding board that they might bounce some things off of. And they might say, well, I was thinking about trying this. And uh, we might bounce back with a question
Mm,
to clarify what they're really thinking about, because a lot of times things come out of people's mouths and they haven't really thought through what those really mean, right?
yeah.
And
Yep.
so this whole idea of clarification and reflection and so forth becomes a real part of this.
Mm,
And a phrase that you will hear often is from a coach is, okay, so what I think I hear you saying is this. Is that correct?
mm,
And you want to try to do this. So, what does it look like to do that? What do you think some of the barriers might be? What's most important to you right now? And what's most important to your organization? And
mm,
you begin to ask some of those questions that draw them into a line of thinking that they're not always used to.
mm,
But that thinking allows them to gain more confidence in the actions that they take as a leader within an organization.
mm.
And the coaching allows them to kind of try some of this stuff out,
Yeah.
to understand it better before they take that step. Sometimes they're not sure what to do. Our job is not to say, "Well, CEO, why don't you do this?" Well,
Right.
that sounds more like consulting, doesn't
Right.
it?
There's a
That's
difference
not our
already.
job. This
Right.
is their job.
Right.
It's their job, and they are fully capable. They're fully resourceful, they're fully creative. They have the ability to develop under their own area of expertise, um, the right kind of solutions that will move their organization forward, move them forward.
Mm,
And our jobs as coaches is to not get in their way
mhm.
to a certain extent.
Right.
I use the metaphor, I think, when we were talking before of the car
Mm,
and the client or whoever we're coaching uh, is driving the car. They've got their hands on the steering wheel, their feet on the gas pedal or the brakes. The coach is in the passenger seat, more like a navigator.
mm.
If, as a coach, we reach over and grab their wheel,
Yeah.
we've created an unsafe situation, right?
Exactly.
And and we're telling them we know better than you.
Right.
And the reality is no, we don't. They're the expert at their work. They're the expert at their life. Our job is to begin to ask questions. Well, where are you really trying to go? Here's a fork in the road. Which way makes the most sense to you right
Mm,
now? Um, what problem do you want to work on right now?
yeah.
And those types of questions begin to draw people out and they begin to think through them. And as they do that, they get better and stronger and more confident in their ability to lead.
Mm. It's amazing. It's almost like it's funny that you mentioned therapy as something oftentimes people get confused coaching with, because I think sometimes it's like the feeling you get. Like, it's the clarity you get when you're with a coach. It's the, inspiration you get sometimes when you're with a coach. Like, you help people be, a better version of themselves and lead better, and get better results, and sometimes that could feel like very therapeutic, honestly. So I think that that's, very interesting, and I love that you provide people that don't often have a place to turn to be vulnerable to try to fail, to try something out that might fail,
Right.
in a safe place for them because that is, a difficult thing for anyone in a CEO or owner leadership position to do. And so having someone external to help out is wonderful. And I think like just sometimes I'm a verbal processor. Just talking to people helps me
Right.
clarify, right? There is
Yeah.
just I'm just such a big proponent of it. I think especially if you're at the top and you don't have a lot of people to collaborate with and, brainstorm with and I just think coaching's a no-brainer. So I love that you work with people that way. Now you kind of already touched on this a little bit before, but you mentioned a lot of people think in binaries. You had talked about like also like having the blinders on. Um, and man, when we think in binaries, that really holds people back a lot. It can
Sure.
and it can kind of be in a survival mode sometimes when we're doing that. But coaches help open up all the possibilities, like you mentioned. So,
Right.
how do you help people see that? If you can tell that those blinders are on or they are thinking black and white, they have no gray in between,
Yep.
how do you help people to see that there are other options out there?
Well, it's as simple as asking the question sometimes. Um, what else? What are some
Ooh,
other possibilities?
yeah.
You've mentioned this and you've mentioned this, but what are some other possibilities, even if you don't fully believe in them? Let's just let's play the possibility game,
Yeah.
right?
You don't
Let's
have
get
to
some
be
ideas out.
right. Yeah, like, there's not one. There's not just one. You don't have to be just right. Just throw some
Correct.
ideas. Yeah.
And so that brainstorming that happens in that
Mm.
becomes somewhat enlightening to people
Yeah.
because as their brains begin to pop that way, they begin to think about, oh, I suppose it's not just this or this. It could be this or this. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to get their minds fully engaged in this process of thinking about a wider world than they would ever think of by themselves. Our
Yes.
tendency, and most people are wired to think black or white,
Mhm.
you know, light or dark, uh, yes or no.
Yep. This path or that
and
path.
oddly enough, as coaches, we ask a lot of open-ended questions that require people, and open-ended are questions that can't be easily answered with a yes or no. They're questions that require a deeper level of thought.
Mm.
And so we're trained to ask those open-ended questions, the what and the how and the where and the when and occasionally the why, but we sort of stay away from that a little bit because it can feel judgmental to someone.
Mm.
But we ask those questions that then cause people to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
We want them to be down into a space that allows them to really grow and move. Um, I was just on a call earlier today that, the entry level coaches and other people who are looking at coaching oftentimes will get caught up in the tactical
Mm.
things. And yet the real problem is not the stuff, the what's there. The real problem is the application
Mm.
of that tactical or how that person relates to that tactical. And
Mm.
so as we start to really get better at coaching, we begin to migrate more to what we call below the neck, but it's what people are experiencing and the challenges they're having with that problem, not just the problem themselves. Good
Yeah.
example, we're having a problem with um, people in our organization getting along with each other.
Mm.
Okay. And so you can see on a tactical level how you could say, well, you ought to try this, and this, right? Or you could even, as a coach, lead them to all those things, which might be helpful, but it also might be solving the wrong problem.
Okay. Yeah.
And so as a coach, you want to draw them in to beginning to think, okay, so what does this mean to me?
Mm,
How does how do I relate to this? Am I part of the problem?
mm,
What's my part of the mess? What am I modeling for the rest of the organization,
mm.
and so forth.
There you go.
And so you see how you begin to get into that relationship side of it as opposed to the technical or transactional side of things.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you help people kind of dig deeper. You don't even give them the option sometimes to give you just a binary answer, and that's a wonderful way to do it, like open-ended questions, helping them dig deeper.
Right.
And, some of these things you do, it's stuff that you have learned because you have an actual certification in coaching, and we had talked a little bit about how the coaching field is still overall very new. Even if it feels, oversaturated at the moment, it did not become I wouldn't say it was very commonplace to hear about people having coaches all the time until still, like, recent years. And so we talked about that a little bit, that even though it feels like it's everywhere now, it's still pretty new. But one of the things that you did, so you have PCC here beside your name that I can see.
Correct.
Can you tell us about, what that means and why it was important to you, especially
Mhm.
in a such a new field, but one that's oversaturated with a lot of people who probably don't know how to coach as well as others. Can you tell
Right.
us about that PCC and what your certification process was, and what you recommend for people when they're looking for coaches?
Yeah, it's kinda like a master's degree, actually. You're right, coaching is not a very old, established profession. I think some of the practices have been out there for a long time, um, but it has really I've been coaching since 2010, and it has really begun to pick up momentum in terms of its credibility. There were a lot of people just hanging shingles saying, "I'm a coach," but didn't have the training or the rigor or the structure or, uh, the accountability in some cases, the ethics in a lot of cases that back that up. And so that became a barrier for it coming into organizations
Mhm.
because, um, 'cause there were lots of people, I don't wanna say snake oil salesmen, but I'll say it for this podcast.
You
Um,
feel free.
um, there were a lot of people out there who claimed to be coaches that really didn't practice coaching. They
Mhm,
were just giving advice.
mhm.
It would be
Consulting.
more like
Good.
consulting, right?
Exactly.
Or mentoring,
Right.
right? Or something else. And so the coaching profession kind of got uh, a black eye at the early stages because people kind of saw it as being kind of wishy-washy,
Mm,
um, and the rigors that have been put into, coaching through the major coaching organizations out there, the International Coaching Federation is the one I'm involved in, and it's the biggest one, I think. Um, Requires a lot of learning, a lot of classroom time, a lot of, coaching time, testing, recordings, evaluation, and such, right? To get to a certain level. There are 3 different levels. There the ACC level, which is I think it stands for the associate, uh, coach coach level. The PCC is the professional coach level, and the MCC is the master coach.
mm,
Um, and I'm on a track to go toward MCC. I've been working on that for a while, but it does take a while. Um, you start out with to get into an accredited, so one of those 3 are accredited, to get into accredited with at least 60 hours of accredited training,
mhm,
and then mentor coaching. So you have to go through mentor coaching, um, where a PCC or above coach will listen to your recordings, give feedback, go back and forth, help you make progress. Um, so classroom mentor training, And then you have to have a certain number of coaching hours. I think the ACC level, you have to have 100 documented coaching hours that are paid. The PCC, I think it's 500. I'm kind of reaching back on these numbers, and the MCC is like 2,500. Um, and then once you get to those thresholds where you have the certain amount of training and the certain amount of continuing ed credits, and you've got the mentor coaching, then you're eligible to submit for a credential.
Mm.
And I know at the PCC level, the credential required me to record 2 um, coaching sessions that met the criteria of that particular level.
Nice.
So you see the dance,
Yeah.
you have to be very aware of the competencies and the bars that are set for those particular levels.
Yeah.
And then if you're able to pass that, then you're allowed to take the test, which is a 3-hour kind of big sweat,
I was
hard.
gonna say, I'm sure super fun and
It
relaxing, right?
it 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 is not easy, and you get through that, and then you can get your, certification at whatever level you've tested at,
Nice.
and it just keeps going because it's always continuous education, it's, continuous coaching,
Mhm.
continuous exposure, you learn something new every day,
Right.
and, you get to a point, and I feel very confident that I'm to this point, where you're not really thinking about the structure of coaching anymore, it's really baked in.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of baked into who you are and how you interact, and you just don't think about that anymore.
Yeah.
That, I'm gonna use this model, and I'm gonna do this first, and you just don't think about that anymore. All of a sudden, it's just a conversation,
Yeah.
and that conversation carries those characteristics with them because they're baked in.
Yeah.
But you're really having that conversation out of just great curiosity and wonderful presence and somebody who's really about the person they're coaching.
Mm.
It's not about me ever in a
Right.
coaching session. It's about you
Yeah.
if I were coaching you. And it's about what you want and what you need and where you're going and where you're struggling and where you find your joy and everything like that. And we work through that stuff. And it's a great pleasure to be part of those conversations.
I think that's so cool, that because it was such a new thing, and having this type of, certification you can get that really gives, a lot of like, it just raises the bar for the entire industry, which I think is needed in something like
Mm.
this. And I love that, you're able to explain a little bit about what that is. And, people now, when they're looking for coaches, they'll be able to see kind
Right.
of what that means, right? Like if they see
Yeah.
PCC or ACC or MCC, they're going to know what that is. Or ICF, was it International
Yeah.
Coaching Fund?
Uh,
Okay. Is that what you,
Federation. Yeah.
Federation? Okay. And
Yeah.
so I like that. I like that's something that you've taught us that people can look for too. And now you know
Yeah.
what someone will have needed to go through
Yeah.
before they can get that and earn that. And you have that for yourself, which is awesome.
This episode is sponsored by our guest, Andy Huckaba. Andy is a founding member of Ad Astra Coach Alliance, where he helps individuals and leaders break through limitations and step into their full potential. If you're feeling stuck, or you know you're capable of more but aren't sure what's next, Andy's coaching is designed to help you get clear, take action, and actually move forward. You can learn more at adastracoachalliance.com.
Okay, so you had mentioned joy, helping people find joy just a second
Mhm.
ago. And I know from previous conversation I had with you that fun is something you actually value. You said if you are not
Yeah.
having fun, then you need to change something.
Yeah.
And so how does that, what does that look like in practice when in your coaching?
Yeah, well, I think we try to have fun, we try to laugh, we try to sometimes laughter is a way to release,
Mm,
um, stress,
yeah.
anxiety, or in some cases, even barriers. Sometimes you need to relax to be able to get there.
Yes.
And laughter is one of those ways to do it. And
Mm.
so, um, the relationship between the coach and the client doesn't always have to be serious.
Not at all.
It can
No.
be fun, it
Really
can be
relaxed.
joyful, it can be relaxed, it can have laughter, um, and oftentimes does,
Yes.
because there's this sense that we're on a journey together.
Mm.
And if our journey together is, one of stern, you know, rigidness,
Mm.
seriousness all the time, we're gonna burn out.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna make the progress we need to make, and so sometimes a little
Yeah.
fun is really important.
Yeah, and
I
it's hard enough
encourage that with my
already.
clients.
I'm like, if it's hard, if you're going to a coach, you need some help, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Life might already be a little difficult and challenging in some ways. So, bringing in a
right.
little levity, a little
Yeah,
lightness, into something that can be pretty heavy, that's a good thing. And
yeah.
you love what you do. So you
Oh, yeah.
also you have fun coaching, consulting, educating. You said that I think that we were talking about your love for what you do when you mentioned that was, if I'm not having fun, I need to do
Yeah,
something else. Right?
that's right, and I think that applies to a lot of people, it's
Yeah.
like somebody will say, well, um, they'll describe the symptoms,
Mm,
um, and, one of the questions might be around, where do you find joy?
yeah.
What are the things that really give you life versus deplete you?
Mm, yeah.
Um, and w which side are you spending most of your time on?
Yes.
Well, that in itself is a really interesting exercise,
Mm,
and I do that myself sometimes, that when I'm feeling a little heavy or feeling like I might be stressed out or just tired or something like that, I'll ask myself that question. What am I doing?
mm,
What am I doing? Right? Where
yeah.
am I spending my time? And which of those things give me joy and which don't?
Mm,
I've loved having AI
mm,
available to me
mm,
because some of the things that don't give me joy are writing reports,
mm,
right? Doing
yes.
deep analysis of things, of data. And that's sucks the life out of me. I'm a people person. I love people and
Mhm,
I want to be around people. And that steals that from me. And so whenever I can have an assistant or a computer that can do those things for me and probably better than I could do them,
mhm.
it actually gives me joy that they're taking over that task for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're speaking my language because this is what my business does. And I think because because I don't know if you're into the Enneagram at all, but I'm an Enneagram
Yeah,
7 through and through, which is all about the joy and the fun of
maybe,
life.
right.
My
Yeah.
primary driver is to find joy in everything. So I'm constantly looking for ways to take things off my plate that I don't
Yep.
like to do.
Sure.
So AI is amazing to me because for instance, okay, I like to write and I'm actually a very good writer. But when you are trying to make quite a bit of content, that can really bog you down with stuff. And I love using ChatGPT for something like that, right? Like to help me
Yep.
get all the words down that I need to do and I don't have to
Right.
struggle so many hours with it. Another thing uh is which AI is so not here, and I can't wait until it gets to this point, but is editing. Editing content, editing videos,
Oh,
editing stuff like that. I have a ton I don't know if this part will be on the podcast, but Andy and I were just bonding over dogs a minute ago, and, I have so many videos of my dog, and she has her own TikTok. It's great, and I
of
love it.
course she does.
Oh, she does it, it's cute. But man, when I tell you it takes me I don't even wanna tell you, Andy, how long it takes me to edit those videos and do the voiceovers and do the cuts. And man, my dream I just can't wait for AI to get where it's like, I love the filming of it. It's the same with these podcasts. I love this conversation. I'm like you, I think I love, like, more the
Right.
interaction, the people part, the creative part. But when I sit down and I have to splice through hours of video, that's where I'm just like I can't. So I love where AI is going. It's not there yet, but the dream to be able to just upload my dog videos and they go through with the script that I made on ChatGPT and all the cuts are right and everything looks good and sounds good. Same with the podcast. I take this awesome conversation between me and Andy and I could pop it up in something and it just comes out on the other side completely done. That's the dream. Like I love where AI can help right now.
Right.
And I look forward to what it can do at some point. And then right now, like you said, a human assistant, a human editor to help with
Yeah.
things that like delegating some of those things off that really drain us. And it can just free us up to do so much more of the
Right.
things that bring us joy. So I love that you mentioned that because I'm a big proponent of using AI to do the things you really don't like,
Yeah.
or that really suck your life out of you.
Well, I think that's probably where it shines right now, at least in
Yes.
practical application. I think there are lots of promises and hopes of where it could go, but
Yeah.
I think it does shine as that super assistant that can
Yes.
almost, anticipate what you need and then just within seconds give it to you,
Yeah.
and it's quite a remarkable, tool and
Yeah.
technology. I have been known to, and of course with permission of clients, but to take a transcript of our conversations that happen virtually, uh, drop them in and ask for that summary and then pop that summary back out to the client. What a
Nice.
great use of it.
Is
Now
that not amazing?
I always scrub, personal identification stuff because, um, of confidentiality,
Mhm.
but they're able to get this really quick summary and action points
And the action
based
step.
on that conversation. Yeah,
Yes, those action steps sent to you as a reminder
right.
after the it's just isn't it amazing,
It's huge.
honestly? Like,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
goodness. Versus you having to go after you finish and, like, you are so present, I'm sure, like I am, in your conversations. You are very present.
right?
So you're not actually taking notes down or being
Take
distracted from the
right,
conversation, right? This frees you up to just really be open because before you'd have to go down and hope you hadn't really missed some of those big key takeaways, make your
right.
notes, and so you can remember, but now we don't have to do that. It's all
Yeah,
done in real time with the assistance of AI. So I do hope, all entrepreneurs, CEOs, whatever, that they are using AI to leverage those pieces
yep.
that drain them and drain their time. If someone Googled your company right now and landed on your website, would they lean in and want to learn more, or would they quietly say, yikes, and close the tab? Your website is your first impression, and it's either drawing clients in or losing deals right and left. Whether we like it or not, people do still judge books by their covers, and your clients are making decisions about your business before they ever even reach out. At my company, Archer Collaborative, we design high-end strategic websites for businesses whose founders are ready for their online presence to finally align with the quality and professionalism they bring to their clients every day. Our designs are not just pretty. We bring full custom layouts, clear positioning, intentional structure, and smart systems behind the scenes, so your site actually supports your growth. If your business is doing incredible work, but your website still looks like you built it at 11 p.m. 3 years ago, then it's time to let us help you. Visit archercollaborative.com today, and let's build something that is finally worthy of your business and its stellar reputation. So I think I already know the answer to this, but I have to ask. So in your coaching, consulting, educating, all of it, what has been the most rewarding part for you?
Well, um, I think relationships with people.
Yeah.
I mean, all 3 of them have that,
Yeah.
right? And the relationships that, really, really rich and long relationships with people that, um, I feel like I've made a difference in their life and they've certainly made a difference in my life.
Mm,
So that's gotta be the number 1, um, just key thing that I would say on that.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's the
it's a
reason,
big deal.
yeah, and it's what gets you going anyway. That's the thing you love the
Yeah.
most is being with the people. So I love
I'm
that.
cl
Now,
I'm clearly not an introvert.
yeah, yeah, no, we can't be introverted and love working with people this much. There's no way.
Mm-mm.
Um, So I would love to now ask you some questions to give advice to people listening, other entrepreneurs, business owners,
Mm.
coaches, consultants. Let's talk about. So you talked about what's most rewarding. What has been challenging in building your businesses?
Oh, yeah. Well, so I have a lot of years
Mm.
because my consulting business I started in 1993.
Yeah.
Um, I've had a lot of years that went through building the business. It went through really tough economic conditions in some cases, um, redefining the business, redefining the services, redefining who I am.
Mm.
Uh, and I guess, you know, there are a couple of things that I want people to think about, especially if you're out building businesses. Uh, Number one, people have been building businesses since the beginning of time.
Mm.
So this isn't unique to
Yeah.
build a business. Um, it's actually more the norm than working for a corporation,
Mm.
building businesses. Um, and many years, a century ago, everybody had a mom and pop shop or a farm or something of that nature, right?
Right.
This is kind of built into us, where it's built into our desire to survive, to provide, to thrive
Mm.
in some cases. And so one of the things that people need to learn is resiliency.
Mm.
They need to learn how do you become more resilient to deal with the ebbs and flows of a world that perhaps you can't even control.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Um, that's really important.
Mm.
Um, be flexible. Flexibility is critical. You've got to see things, and you've got to be flexible enough to understand and change with the times.
Mm.
If you don't, then you'll end up like Kodak was with the film
Mm.
in digital photography, which came and claimed their clock, right?
Right.
And so um, you end up essentially going out of business because you're not flexible enough and not aware enough to make those changes. Um, Third, I think we have to invest in ourselves
Mm.
continuously.
Yeah.
That and this is the coach in me telling everybody this, of course, right? But we do need to invest in ourselves. And let me tell you a little story here. Um, Between 2003 and 2009, I had one business that was consulting. And it changed all over the place, but probably one of the key components of that was strategy, working on strategy with organizations. I still do that.
Mm.
Um, but it wasn't enough, and it certainly wasn't enough when we got into the 2008 Great Recession
Mm.
and everybody doing, things like I was doing were basically things were ground to a halt.
Right.
There was no business out there. And so anybody listening to this that was working during that period of time understands that all too well. And that could happen again, right?
Right.
Um, During that time, I could have just said, this has been a good run. I've had a good time. Um, Throw your hands up in the air and go out and just desperately try to find a job like everybody else was,
Right. Right.
right? A job that perhaps you wouldn't find joy in,
Right.
a job that um, wouldn't cause you to grow and achieve your goals. Or I could purposefully find ways to reinvest in myself.
Mm.
What does that look like? And so 2009, 2010, I began to um, be part of some organizations and some training and so forth around leadership, um, adaptive leadership primarily, coaching, and um, and through those I gained a much wider network of people, which then led me into the teaching
Mm.
at a university level, which was kind of cool. But it also was the trigger to start my coaching work.
Wow.
And the coaching disciplines and the skill sets and the exposure to that affected my consulting dramatically, and it affected the way I looked at other things. So I had something to look forward to,
Wow.
as opposed to the fear of this great recession causing me not to be able to pay the bills.
Hmm.
And
Now
I wasn't alone,
I've
and
got to
so
ask you more questions about this. This is so fascinating because I just had another podcast the other day with a guy who went through something very similar in COVID. And it was like 2.5 years he had of
right.
nothing. He was like, "My business was gone, like, gone, dead." And he did exactly what you did, was he was like, "I'm just gonna go learn and pivot and figure out how to do what I'm doing now." And he was very, like, technologically not there at all, and he had to, like he's like, "Okay, well, I can still do what I do if I can learn tech." And so I just think that's fascinating, and my question to him, which now I'm gonna ask you, is I'm like, at any time during that, were you like, "Oh, maybe I should just get a job?" Or the whole time were you like, "No, I'm gonna do this. I can figure this out. I'm gonna pivot. I'm gonna make it through."
Yeah. Well, so some things you need to know about me. I'm really stubborn. Um, I'm
Me
very
too.
resilient. Um, I've been known over my lifetime to have a lot of confidence
Nice.
in myself. Um, and I have a pretty high risk tolerance.
Mm,
My wife, not so much, but certainly I do. Um, and so I saw challenges like that as opportunities, not as,
mm.
death warrants.
Nice.
Um, there are times in running a business where it feels like you're on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're way up and sometimes you're way down, and the ride is not for the weak at heart.
Mhm.
It's for people that can tolerate that kind of uncertainty, and it certainly is uncertainty. Um, and yet you have to reflect, what did I learn from that? What did I get from that? The times when I thought, okay, the business is dried up, maybe I ought to just go work for somebody else. And this happened several times. I asked that question. And I always reminded myself the reason why I got out of the corporate world to begin with,
Mm,
and the reason I started my business. And those reasons were still true.
mm.
And I would look around and I would say, well, there are other people who are being successful in this work. There's no reason why I can't.
Right.
So
Yes.
then the question is, so what do I do next? How do
Yeah.
I do this? What do I need to change? How do I need to invest in myself? What skill sets do I need to bring to the table? And so forth. And that's part of the resilience that we're talking about, right? It's a
Yeah.
belief in yourself. It's a belief in your abilities. And it's an understanding that people have done this since the beginning of time.
Mm.
You know, you go out hunting and, if you don't bring anything home, the family doesn't eat,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly right.
So there's no time to necessarily twiddle your thumbs. There are I'm driven. I'm very disciplined in doing the work I need to do to make sure that I have business, and I try to make sure that everything I do it at its highest level, so people always want to hire me again. And
Right.
this happens over and over again, and has in my career. Um, if you're not disciplined, this is kind of tough,
Mhm.
especially if you're a one man shop or one woman shop, right?
Mhm.
It becomes harder to be able to see your way through this if you don't have the discipline. If
Yes.
you would rather, be on your phone watching TikTok videos than actually building your business, then maybe you ought to be in a job that allows you to be on your phone watching TikTok videos, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
that's giving you joy as
Mm.
opposed to building your business.
Mm.
Sometimes people do that because they're nervous about the unknown, and so they can just get on their phone and watch TikTok videos because, you know, you can always scroll, you know, there's
Yeah.
very low risk there. And so
Yeah.
the coaching question might be around, so what triggers you to do that? What's really going on here? What would keep you from investing in your business versus wasting time
Mm,
doing that?
yeah.
Now, I don't want to take business away from your dog's TikTok um, channel, but
Listen, she could do
'cause
it.
that
She could be one of
because
those that brings in millions.
that could be a big money maker for you.
Oh, she's so cute. She could. But I would hate it because I'd have to be the one one sitting there doing the darn editing.
You
Let's
know,
get AI
resilience, belief
ahead.
in
Yeah.
yourself, invest in yourself. Um, those are really important things to grab onto.
So I have a question within what you were just saying there. You were talking a bit about you said just in an offhand comment that you are fine with risk, but your wife not so much. So I have a question about that because that is something I experience a lot with my partner because I'm pretty like it's so weird for me to even say this right now. Like I don't mind risk. Which is crazy because, like, 5 t to 10 years ago, I would have said I'm the most risk-averse person I know. It's just I think I my mindset on risk totally changed, and so I feel very comfortable with it. But when you're in a partnership, marriage, whatever, with someone who is very risk-averse and you're not, like, how do you handle that with your wife? How does that go?
Uh,
Any tips?
yeah, you know, I think a lot of it is it's built into how you communicate with each other and your belief in each other.
Mm.
Um, if there's that belief, then that works. I mean, Nancy and I have been married 42 years, so that's a long time. And
You've proven to
um,
her too in
you
42
know, when
years.
when we first met, this will just kind of show you my profile a little bit. But when we first met, we were in college,
Mm.
and I was studying to be an opera singer.
Nice.
That was my
That's
major.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
was a scholarship student studying to be an opera singer.
Cool.
Talking about risk, right?
Wait, do you still
Real
sing? I have to ask.
some, yeah,
Yes.
but I most of it's just here.
Yeah.
I have a couple guitars always sitting in my office. I'll pull those off and play a little bit.
Oh,
Most of the classical stuff, I just live vicariously through people I know who
yeah.
do this as a profession,
But you're
and
right. Talk about risk going for that as your
it's a
major.
rough deal. So,
Yeah.
um, so she knew my makeup like that,
Mm.
and I always had kind of an entrepreneurial, creative kind of mindset makeup where, you know, I would look at things, and when I was in the corporate world, um, I would always see things that I could make better, that I
Mhm.
could do better, and I would just do them. I didn't ask permission. I would just do them.
Yeah.
And there were groups of people in that world that loved me, and groups of people that didn't love me so much because, you know, I was just going through and changing the world.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that's kind of me. That's kind of my mindset. That's who I am. And, you know, I looked up one day and said, gee, you know, I could be a consultant. I could do this as my full time job,
Yeah.
the stuff that I love to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. And here you
And
are.
so here I am.
I love it. I love it. Now, I have a question about sales because for a
Yep.
lot of entrepreneurs listening, that's where they're going to get hung up. Those dark times, that 2008,
Yeah.
2009 for you,
Yeah.
you know, they might be in that now. What is working for you right now, Andy, with sales, consulting, clients, you know, getting in,
Yeah.
you know, or even if it's, you know, just retaining if you're not taking on new clients at the moment, what is working for you right now?
In my world, it's all relationship based.
Mhm.
Um, it's not about me sending out, um, you know, text messages or LinkedIn blast or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not going to ever give me any clients. That's not the way it works.
Mm.
It's relationship based, and so um, those clients tend to come in based on relationships that I'm building with them or they've built with people who I've either coached or consulted with, or
Nice.
people who have been in my classes sometimes who
Yeah.
then turn around and say, I really need a coach.
Mm.
Can we
Yeah.
do this? And so that happens. I tend to think that a lot of sales like that, are relationship based.
Yeah.
You've got to show that you care about people. You've got to show um, that you want to be in a position to help solve their problems, not to fix their problems. It's their job to fix their problems,
Right.
but to be along the ride to partner with them so that it's possible for them to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and that's all relationship based.
Mm.
And so retention is all relationship based too.
Yeah.
It's you have to ask yourself all the way through, am I adding the kind of value that they need?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Um, and if you're not sure about the answer to that question, then you're either not communicating well with the client or you're not adding the kind of value.
Right.
Um, and so, you know, every engagement should be value added.
Mm.
Somebody in a coaching conversation, they need they should feel like this was a valuable use of my time.
Mm.
This helped me propel from here to here. This
Yes.
helped me think about some things that I've been worrying about for a while. Now I don't have to worry about those anymore.
Yeah.
This gave me a picture in my mind of what success looks like, and I've never really defined that before. You see, value added, what that
Yeah.
looks like? And
100%.
some of these things, it's hard to put a price on,
Yeah.
especially for people that are really at significant positions within their organizations. It's hard for them to put a price on that.
Mm.
Um, and, you know, they don't complain about it. It's
Yeah.
just kind of like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Um, I think somebody first getting started, uh, it's create relationships, take a
Mm.
chance,
Yeah.
um, throw some freebies out there, get in front of somebody.
Yeah.
I'm talking about coaching, but
Yeah.
but let's say we're talking about technology.
Mhm.
Say you built this cool app that has a
Mhm.
lot of possibilities, right?
Yeah.
And you want to get it out to a marketplace. Well, what does that look like? What are the possibilities of doing that? And most technology people, this is a terrible generalization, but most technology people are not good marketing people.
Right. They're good at
Uh,
tech.
they're gr- they're great at
They're the tech
doing the tech.
experts. Yeah.
And so, what are the options? Right. One of the options is, well, I'm gonna learn more about marketing, and I'm gonna try some of these things and see how I do. Uh, Oftentimes that feels depleting to them,
Right. Right.
as opposed to
Especially if they
life-giving
really
or
love tech.
energy-giving. Yeah,
Yeah.
they'd rather be doing the tech.
They wanna be writing
And
code,
so
not not cold
so
emails.
yeah, so another possibility as well, I'll use tech to do the marketing for me,
Mhm.
right? And people do that all over the place, right?
Yep.
And does that bring in the kind of business you want?
Mm.
Is it sustaining? Does it
Mhm.
work? Well, it's a possibility. Um, Other people will say, well, I'm going to hire somebody who's really good at marketing to come alongside of me like a partner,
Yeah.
and they're going to open doors for me, and then I'm going to go in and wow them with what I know.
Mm.
Well, that's a possibility,
Yeah.
right? Um, and I think one of the problems, especially in the tech world, and I know a lot about the tech world, but in the tech world is people feel like they can't get anything out there unless it's fully baked, fully built,
Mm.
right? And so they spend all this time and effort and so forth trying to build something that'll never see the light of day
Right.
because they don't get it out there.
Yeah.
And they're also making the assumption that what I'm building people really need.
Mm.
Right?
Mhm.
And so a better way to do it is build something fast, get it out there, try it, build on it, and so
Yeah.
forth. And in that, you're beginning to build a customer base, but you're also building a product that people really need.
You're so right. on that, and, like, how many people and that I mean, it goes wonderfully for tech, but it goes for so many things in any types of products or
Yeah.
services. Like, get it out there, like, we're our own worst enemies sometimes because you're right, like, okay, think about your iPhone, whatever phone you got. That thing's how many redos have we had at this point? How many
Oh
updates have
gosh.
we had? What if they waited to
R
launch that thing?
right.
Don't wait to I mean, if you got like, it's if you've got your base thing there and it can function, put it out there. You learn more from the customers using it, from your people using it, and telling
Right.
you what could be better, and than just sitting there and fiddling it with it by yourself.
Yeah, and podcasts are like this too, right?
Yeah,
That we could have the perfect podcasts,
yeah,
the perfect content, the perfect guest, right? The perfect technology to do all of this,
yeah,
and no audience.
and no
Or
audience, or we
or
don't
you
post
can
them.
get it. Yeah, or you don't post them, or you can get them out there. Not gonna implicate anything here, but you can get it out there, allow people to hear some of the thoughts, get some feedback, begin to
Yes.
tweak and change and build and so forth, and over time, you have a better chance to be successful in that type of deal.
You're so right, and because you do your own podcast too, Andy, so you know what
Yeah,
this is like, and like getting kind of meta here, talking about the podcast on the podcast. But whenever that we were talking a little bit about that for me, like that's a hard thing for me, and I'm gonna take your advice here because it's true. Like at some point, I don't have to edit out every single and and like sometimes just let the conversation go, put in your the important edits and then post it. It's okay if it's not perfect. After 100 of these and 200 of these, it'll get a lot better,
yeah.
right? But
Well, you create a system
yeah.
for churning them out, and
Yes.
yet when when you're new in it and you're striving for perfection because you
Yes.
might be a perfectionist, right?
Yeah, guilty.
You gotta realize that most people are listening to this, pipe through their car stereo when they're in traffic or something like
Right.
that. I mean, there is a difference between a tinny sound and a rich sound,
Yeah.
but that's a good microphone,
Right. Right.
right?
That's all you
Uh,
need. And it's not like
and
we have to edit it down every second to make it
yeah.
good.
And then have a little fun with it,
Have
right?
fun with it. Oh, and it feels so good when they're done and you post them and they're you just, people are listening. I've learned so much. I'm sure, I learn a ton from these things. I just can't
Of
wait for other people to learn from
of
them.
course, yeah.
So, yeah. So, okay, I've got some other questions for you, Andy.
Okay,
Um, I've got four more for you. I know that
okay.
sounds like a lot, but I hope it doesn't feel like a lot.
Yeah, I kind of drag on with my answers sometimes, so
No, I love talking to you. I can see why people especially I do have to say, when you were like, "Oh, some of the people are from my classroom, like some of the classes you teach." I love that because I do see how someone sitting in your class would be like, "I would love to actually coach with him after this." I think that and that's such an easy relationship, I think, to go from I'm your educator to now I'm gonna coach you.
yeah,
I love that you do that with people. I think that is fantastic.
thank you.
But let's talk about your coaching business, consulting business, or whichever one you want to talk about. A year from now, if we're chatting, Andy,
Mm,
what would you say is what has changed or grown or whatever in your company in a year's time?
sure. Well, I love that question. I'd like more, um, executive clients, and that's the trend that I've been on,
Nice.
that more of my clients tend to fall into that categorization, and part of the reason why it does is because, I don't know, maybe the gray hair or something like that. It just seems to be a niche that I have, adopted and am pretty comfortable in and effective in.
Nice.
So my hope is to grow that base to a stronger base. Um, my hope is um, to be more prolific on the podcasts that I'm doing.
Yeah.
What I like about those is that they allow me to be really creative
Yeah.
and to think about topics at a much deeper level than I normally do,
Mhm.
and to try to explore issues and things that um, people want to explore,
Mm.
things that people really care about. We were talking about my next one's going to be on delegation, right?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
I'll get into a class and I'll say, "So, how many of you are good at delegation and or have troubles with delegation?" That may be one of, and and almost everybody in class will raise their hand that they have trouble with delegation.
Yeah.
And and that becomes kind of an entry into, well, let's talk about delegation. What does it look like? What does it mean? What are the principles of what are Andy's rules of delegation?
Yeah.
Which I have, by the way. And
Yes, you do.
and if you tune into my podcast, you can listen to
Which
these.
is called
Growth Beyond Boundaries.
Growth Beyond Boundaries with Andy Huckaba, and who else? You have other people
Well,
on with
it's
you.
yeah, Teresa Schwab and Phyllis Collins.
There you
And
go.
so it's the Ad Astra Coach Alliance,
Mm.
which we're partners in, and Growth Beyond Boundaries podcast is part of that, part of our work there.
I
So,
love that. So you want
but
more time, more
yeah, more
podcasts. Yeah.
regularity,
Yeah.
um, even richer content. I think our content's been pretty rich so far, but I think it could be even better. More experimental
Mm.
with that. I think that would be fun. Um, the teaching, the teaching is probably that kind of
Mm.
steady stuff that I do.
Yeah.
I don't teach as part of a semester. I teach as certification certified programs like certified public manager and so forth programs. And so you have professionals and adults coming in to learn how to be better managers, how to be better leaders, how to be better communicators, and that work helps them do that.
Right.
Um, that'll continue,
Mhm.
but the challenge there is how do you keep the content fresh
Mhm.
and relevant? Uh, how do you continue to engage and challenge the people coming into those things? And how do you work through scenarios and situations that are relevant today in their work? A lot of them are, in city management or county or state, and they are working through these challenges of drones flying overhead and you know the dance between their public safety and
Mm.
you know ICE and border control and so forth, and all of these issues kind of come to play. And so how do you work through that?
Wow.
um, how do you work through um, what's real news and what's fake news?
Mhm. Huge
As I
question.
said, these are all really relevant things. And 10 years ago when I was teaching this stuff, that wasn't as relevant.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
so I hope to keep those sharp and keep those leading edge and keep people really growing through those. The consulting work, I like to have a couple, steady clients that I've worked with for a long time, and I have that right now. Um, that we keep trying to move forward, and it's a long game. It's not a short game.
Yeah.
And what does it look like to help them thrive?
Mm.
And in a world that's changing daily.
Yeah.
So that's
Absolutely.
exciting stuff.
That's
I have a
awesome
lot to
stuff.
look forward to. And, it's
Yeah.
one of those weird things, people ask me, well, do you think you'll retire sometime? And my answer is, well, as long as my mind stays sharp.
Yeah.
I mean, no,
I
because
don't want to.
I- I'm doing the stuff I love to do.
Yeah.
And that really is for all you entrepreneurs and business owners out there, that's the key.
Yeah.
You want to be doing what you love to do.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you don't want to stop.
Right.
It's way too much fun. And
Exactly.
so I'm having
Exactly right.
fun.
I
Yep.
love it. That's usually exactly how I feel. Sometimes not on the down parts of the roller coaster all the time, but yeah, I remember like thinking of, being financially free and all this and, retired at hopefully an early age and I was like, okay, and then what would I do? And I'm like, yeah, be out on the beach. That would be awesome. I'm just going to chill on the beach the rest of my life. Like it's going to be so
6
cool. And then I
months.
was like, yeah, I was like You know what? I think I'd be pretty bored. Actually, I think I would do this. And it was so funny because then I was like, well, why am I still working towards this idea of retirement someday when what I really would want to do is build this business?
Right.
So I'm going to do that now. And it's the same thing as you like, yeah, no, I'm not going to retire. What even is retirement? There's no
Yeah.
retirement when you're
Yep.
doing what you love. So love that answer. Okay, now this one, you can pick whatever you'd like. Now you cannot say, my podcast is the answer to this or your podcast. Okay. But if so you can't pick ours. However, if you are to recommend a podcast or a
Mm.
book or a social profile for people to check out, what would you recommend?
Well, let me answer this in a couple different ways.
All right.
My favorite book, which I think gives a real interesting perspective. I love history. It's called Team of Rivals by Doris Goodwin Kearns.
Okay.
Absolutely love this book. And it is about Lincoln and his cabinet.
Oh,
And
nice.
the people in his cabinet were the people who ran against him for president.
Mm,
And it
that
talks about
keeps you sharp.
yeah, it talks about all of the dynamics there, but it also follows, it's so well written, follows their lives individually up to the point where they're together in an administration.
Wow.
And ultimately, that was so needed for our country because that when Lincoln was elected, that's when the split happened
Mm,
between the North and the South, and the Civil War started essentially at that point. And um, Lincoln knew he needed the strength of these people beside him
right.
to be able to hold the country together.
Wow.
And so
That's
he did.
amazing.
This is a great book. It's thick. And but it's substantial, and I've read it a couple times, and we'll probably read it again, uh, because of the perspective that it gives you,
Mm,
and I think the perspective's great. Um, there is a podcast called Coaching for Leaders, Dave Stachowiak.
all right.
Don't ask me to spell that last name, because it's not like it sounds. Um, Kinda like Huckaba, it's
Yeah.
it's one of those names, but, he is very prolific in terms of talking about leadership and management and communications and all of these things that I sort of play in, and and I'm a big fan of his work and the guests that he's had on there,
Mm,
and so I would highly recommend that as something, if you wanna add something to your playlist, add that to it. It's a
nice.
good one. He does a great job, and, there's a lot of insights and help there.
Nice.
Um, I love Adam Grant's stuff.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the one podcast that I listen to with Adam Grant, but, he's a psychologist, or he's a psychologist, I believe, um, and has a lot of just great knowledge and wisdom and thoughts and guests, and is very helpful,
Nice.
and then, if you wanna listen to something fun and crazy and mindless, the Kelsey Brothers, New Heights podcast is great fun, and somehow I can't get enough of that, and some of it is
Nice.
being from Kansas City and Travis
Yeah.
Kelsey, we sorta love him,
Yeah, you
um,
do.
so
That's
it's fun to.
I love that you recommended my recommendation is always Amy Poehler's Good Hang
Oh,
podcast, which
yeah,
is,
yeah.
all, funny. So I love that you brought in New Heights too for that. It
Yep,
doesn't always have to
yep,
be very, like, way up here mentally. It can be just chill. Sometimes we just need to laugh and unplug,
yep.
like you said. So those are good.
So those probably the ones at least top of mind without pulling out my playlist,
Mm,
those are the ones that are always go-tos for me. They're ones that I really like. Simon Sinek has a real nice one that, um, Guy Kawasaki has a really good one. Um, they there are just lots and lots and lots of good podcast material out there, and if you're driving down the road, there's really no reason not to use that time to, you know, kind of listen to some of that and enjoy it. And some of it's really fun and light, and some of it's heavier, and that's okay.
Yeah, and learn something, grow a little
Yeah,
bit. Yeah,
yeah.
I love it. Thank you for those. Those are good.
Sure.
Great recommendations. All right, 2 more questions for you.
Okay.
Here we go. All right. If there is one message, Andy, that you would like people to take away from our chat today, what would that one message be?
Mm. Believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Does that work for you?
Oh, that's good. That takes me back to that 08, '09 time where you were,
Yes.
and yeah, believe in
It's
yourself.
easy to give up,
Mm,
and a lot of people do.
mhm.
Don't give up.
Oh,
You've got so much to bring to the world. It's get it out of your head and into the world kind of mindset.
oh, that's
And
so good.
yeah,
The every entrepreneur listening just needed to hear that. So thank
yeah,
you. Thank you, Andy, for that. That is awesome. And then my last question, this is an easy one. And this will be posted also in the show notes, people. For those who want to learn from you, who want to follow along, who are interested potentially in your consulting help or in your coaching help,
sure.
maybe they are in your city and they want to come take that class. How can they find out about you, Andy? How can they reach out? How can they work with you?
Well, LinkedIn is a good place. Profile is Andy Huckaba.
Mm.
Um, Andy Huckaba,
Huckaba,
Huckaba.
people,
Oh,
not Huckaba,
not
not
Huckaba, not
Huckaba.
Huckleberry,
Yeah,
not Huckabee. It's just Huckaba.
Huckaba.
And so that's on LinkedIn. Uh, at astrocoachalliance.com has some really good profile and material and up to date and easy to navigate and ways to get in contact with me or my partners. Um, so those are probably the easiest, or send me an email, andy@huckaba.com.
There you go.
And yeah, who has their name as a domain? But I do,
You do.
because I registered for it in 1992 and never gave it up.
Oh,
And
yeah. Well
so,
done.
it's just one of those things that, and so you could send me an email there and tell me where, you know, that you heard me on the podcast or whatever. And I'd love to engage.
That's awesome. Awesome. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Andy. So
Thank
if
you.
you would like to follow along or join in, those are some amazing ways to make contact with Andy. I just want to thank you so much for dropping so much wisdom today. I am certainly leaving this conversation changed and with better ideas and a lot of inspiration. And I know a lot of people listening will be as well. So thank you so much, Andy.
Thanks, Brittany.
If you enjoyed this episode with Andy Huckaba and all the golden pieces of wisdom he shared from his journey, make sure to pay it forward by sharing this conversation with other entrepreneurs who can learn from him as well. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Now go get 'em.